Okay, imagine this. Achieving your golden age abroad, but with a budget that seems almost impossible back home. Our source material today really throws out this stark comparison. Think about living comfortably, say, $500 a month, somewhere like Chiang Mai in Thailand, and then compare that to, well, needing upwards of $4,000 a month just to get by in Singapore. That's a huge difference. So, our mission today is to really unpack the core takeaways from these sources, especially for you if you're a long term buyer or maybe an investor looking at Asia's, well, golden age of opportunity. Okay, let's get into it.
Yeah, that contrast really sets the stage perfectly, doesn't it? And while, a lot of the data focuses on retirees, the underlying ideas, stability, affordability, long-term value, they apply much more broadly. We're trying to move past just thinking, oh, it's cheap, and really identify, let's say, three solid insights about the practical side, real estate infrastructure, actually living there long term.
Right. Let's dive straight into Insight 1 then, which is this huge range, the spectrum of affordability and lifestyle. We have to start with that almost mind-boggling $500 monthly figure for Chiang Mai. Now, is that $500 like just scraping by, or does that actually cover things like, decent internet, a clean place to live, maybe eating out sometimes?
Well, that's why the context is so important.
Yeah.
The sources suggest $500 is doable, but it definitely reflects a very local lifestyle. We're talking local markets, public transport, pretty basic housing. It's certainly not going to include lots of Western comforts, frequent travel, or, say, comprehensive international health insurance.
Okay, that makes sense. So Asia isn't just one big budget category. You've got that like super low end in northern Thailand,
Got it.
but then you jump all the way to Singapore at the other extreme, often pushing past $4,000 a month.
Exactly. And what's really interesting there is that difference isn't random. It directly ties into infrastructure investment. Singapore's expensive because, well, it delivers an incredibly high quality of life. You get robust, world-class amenities, extreme stability. That appeals to a different kind of investor, maybe someone looking for a high net worth regional base. Then you have places like, say, Bali in Indonesia. They often offer a sort of comfortable middle ground for long-term planning. Costs might be around $1,700 a month, balancing that tropical lifestyle with improving international infrastructure. Okay, so affordability sets the scene, but what's the anchor? What keeps people there for the long run? I'm guessing that brings us to Insight 2, healthcare and infrastructure. Because any investment, any move, it needs that foundation, right? The local setup has to actually support the lifestyle you want. Absolutely critical. And the sources we looked at, they consistently mentioned that healthcare across much of Asia is exceptional. But, we need to unpack that word. What does exceptional actually mean on the ground? Does it mean it's easy for a foreigner to navigate, especially if you need specific medications or specialist care? Or is that a whole other layer of homework?
Exactly. If you just read the headlines, you might think, great, healthcare sorted, but it's probably not that simple.
Well, the reality seems to be kind of twofold. For a lot of general treatments, many procedures, the cost for quality care in places like Malaysia or Thailand is, frankly, remarkably low compared to Western countries. Singapore, though, it's expensive, yes, but it's known for truly world-class, cutting-edge health systems, the kind you'd expect in, I don't know, Zurich or Boston. So for someone buying property or planning a long stay, knowing those critical needs, infrastructure, medical care are covered, whether it's through low cost or top-tier quality, it fundamentally lowers the risk of the move.
Right. That distinction is key. Low cost versus, say, top tier quality, or maybe low cost versus convenience. That's the real nugget there. And that leads us nicely into Insight 3, the gateway visas. Because that's often the first and maybe biggest hurdle for a long-term stay, isn't it? How easy is it to actually stay there?
Oh, absolutely. Being able to stay long-term without constant visa runs or jumping through hoops is a massive priority for anyone actually relocating.
Yeah.
And the sources do highlight a couple of established, pretty retiree-friendly options.
Yeah, we're talking about things like the Philippines Special Resident Retirees Visa, the SRV, right? And Thailand's non-immigrant OA retirement visa.
Exactly. And here's a crucial detail for anyone seriously considering this. These are good pathways, definitely, but they usually have conditions, often an age requirement, maybe 50 plus. And importantly, they typically require a specific financial deposit, usually held in a local bank, which is refundable later. For the SRRV in the Philippines, that deposit could be anywhere from, say, $10,000 up to $50,000, depending on the specific visa type in your pension situation. That's serious financial planning info right there.
Okay, so that clarifies things for retirees. But what if, our listeners may be a working age investor or a digital nomad, someone buying property but not retiring yet? Do those same simple visa pathways exist for them? Or does it suddenly get way more complex?
It definitely brings up a really important question. Is the goal purely retirement living, or is it more about business-linked residency? For that non-retiree investor, yeah, countries like Vietnam or Singapore, their long-term processes tend to be much more involved.
Mm.
Often you're looking at needing significant capital investment or setting up a proper business or getting a specific type of work permit. Those straightforward retirement visas just won't apply. So you really need to figure out, are you prioritizing ease of entry for a lifestyle, or are you looking for a business market you can tap into?
Okay, got it. So we've covered the cost spectrum, the essential healthcare and infrastructure piece, and the specific visa hurdles. Let's shift into segment two then. What does all this actually mean for buyers on the ground, and what should be on that like non-negotiable checklist before making a move?
Right, let's connect this back to the actual places. Looking at the top destinations mentioned in the sources, they each have their own unique appeal. Right, it's worth contrasting them.
Yeah, give us that breakdown. What really sets them apart for someone planning long term?
Okay, well, you've got Malaysia. It really stands out for its established, diverse feel, high quality of life, that excellent healthcare we talked about. Plus, English is very widely spoken, especially in hubs like Georgetown or KL. So, stability, convenience. Then contrast that with Vietnam. It offers that incredibly low cost of living, amazing food, and it's a rapidly growing infrastructure market. That might appeal more to someone prioritizing growth potential and affordability, maybe looking at places like Da Nang or Dalat.
And then there's Thailand, which was kind of our baseline for a lot of this data.
Right. Thailand gives you that mix. Warm climate, beautiful beaches, accessible living, pretty good healthcare.
Yeah.
Chiang Mai and Hua Hin are often mentioned as popular spots. And we shouldn't forget the Philippines either. Extreme affordability, huge English-speaking population, especially in expat areas like Dumaguete. Look, these places all sound compelling, but they absolutely demand that you do your homework, your follow-up research.
Okay, let's switch to the practicalities, the logistics. If someone's serious, they've maybe picked a dream destination. What's the number one administrative headache they need to tackle after that?
Oh, taxes. Without a doubt. When you're talking long-term residency, you absolutely must understand your new tax situation. The sources really hammer this home. Do thorough research, because Asia uses different tax models. Are you moving to a country with a territorial tax system? That generally means they only tax income earned inside their borders. Or is it a worldwide tax system?
And that single difference is huge, right? Because it completely changes how you need to structure your finances, your global income.
Exactly. For you, the listener, figuring out if your chosen destination has a double taxation treaty with your home country, that's critical. That needs to be like step one on the checklist, not an afterthought.
Okay, next crucial hurdle, which we touched on, healthcare systems. Not just are they good, but specifically, how will you as a foreigner actually access them? Are the fancy international hospitals going to cost a fortune, maybe forcing you into the local system, which might be harder to navigate?
Yeah, the best advice that comes through from the sources is you've got to investigate that potential two-tier system. Most major cities will have excellent private hospitals, up to international standards, sure, but they'll be significantly more expensive than local clinics or hospitals. So your research really needs to focus on things like insurance. Can your current insurance be used? Or do you need specific expat coverage to bridge that cost gap? Or maybe you plan to pay cash for certain things, which might still work out cheaper than back home. You need to know.
Right. And the final point on our checklist, one that's maybe easy to overlook when you're buried in spreadsheets, is acknowledging and respecting local customs and being prepared for potential language barriers.
Absolutely. I mean, while English is widely spoken in some places, like Singapore or Malaysia, fitting in long-term means more than just communication. The sources are pretty clear. You need to invest time in understanding local laws, etiquette, social norms, and if possible, learn at least basic language, especially if you're looking at Vietnam or maybe more remote parts of Thailand. That's how you shift from feeling like a tourist to actually feeling like a resident.
Okay. So for anyone seeking that blend of adventure, cultural immersion, accessibility, and a dramatically lower cost of living backed by decent infrastructure, Asia definitely presents a compelling picture. But, and this is the big but, that critical research, visas, taxes, healthcare access, that's the non-negotiable homework you absolutely have to do for it to work out.
Exactly. Knowledge is only valuable when you understand it and can apply it. Getting your head around these deep regional differences, that's the vital first step in turning that dream into a workable plan.
So let's wrap up with a final thought, building on that initial cost idea we started with. If a genuinely comfortable life, not just surviving, but a life with culture, experiences, good infrastructure, if that's really achievable in some places for, say, $500 a month, what does that fundamentally change about how we think about wealth, about the value of our assets, or the income we think we need for a successful retirement? It kind of forces a total rethink, doesn't it?
It really does. It completely reframes that whole location independence equation. And look, for anyone listening who's ready to explore these options in more detail or maybe request specific information on long-term stays, investment opportunities in these regions, you can visit moveandstay.com/request.